in this business to do business, not just for the love of beer. The love of beer is universal.
We changed the name on or about February, I suppose, to Phantom Ales on the brewery side and Phantom Cellar on the wine side.
Okay.
The winery was really driven by my partner's wife's love of wine.
Okay.
So he was a brewer from college on, self-taught, and wanted to do the brewery way back in the day. Could we do both? Would it be possible to do the winery and the brewery? It had never been done in California, and when we started the process, we were told it couldn't be done in California. But we went through that process day after day and overcame objections and showed why we were different than other places, and we were the first common facility dual licensed in California's history, according to the ABC. So we're trying to meet both market demands, but they kind of, that's that two-circle overlap. They have that middle piece, but there are two circles as well. So
okay.
That's why we have the two different names, the ales and the cellars.
We saw a need to do something different because everyone was doing the same thing. So we decided to make more of a push towards a craft beer environment. In a fine dining atmosphere, you find that beer doesn't sell all that well. So if you make that changeover, you can actually see what that can do for your bottom line.
Right. Have there been changes in which beers have been offered at your restaurant over the past few years that you've noticed?
Yes, in the last few years we've changed about 70% of our beers. We've changed about 60% of those to California craft beers. We noticed that all of the restaurants in our area were all selling the same exact sort of thing. It's a very stagnant business. A few years ago, we made the decision to start offering more craft beer from local, or more importantly, California. In the craft beer market, however, there is much more opportunity for you to say, hey, try something local. Try something that came from nearby. Try something that our neighbors produced. And it carries more weight than it does when you're talking about a spirit. People will come in and say, what do you have that's local? What IPAs do you carry? What amber ale do you carry? What do you have that's nearby? Can I go and visit these places? You don't find that with spirit.
5-6 years ago, the predominant patronage at a brewery were guys looking to go on fine craft beer and be a brewery. Now there's a kind of a broader wanting to experience the craft beer culture, and we often get groups in where one or two people in the group they don't drink craft beer. They Coors, Budweiser, perfectly fine beers, obviously by market share and such, very well received. Not in our wheelhouse, but I make a Dunkelweizen that, as dark as it is low IBU, and if you'll have someone play along with you and close their eyes and just taste it without looking at how dark it is and how imposing it looks. I only missed once. I missed this week. Otherwise, I'm 1,000% straight through. And we manufacture ales in the whole spectrum that you expect from an ale house, from a blonde through American browns and Northern English browns, all the way through to export stouts. And we'll do some exotic beers. We released a saison yesterday. We have a Tripel, but for the most part, we're a mainstream ale house, IPAs, pale ales, and the like. Not a lot of jalapeno beer or tangerine beer type stuff. And then on the wine side, we continue to manufacture our reds in a variety of styles, and then we do the Syrah Cab, Zin, and Zin Port presently, and then we do blends of those as well for folks. We've had distributors show up on our door and ask, especially with regards to the ciders, since we make those under our wine license, and no one else is really doing that, and we're hopping them, so it's a little different than like a Reds or an Angry Orchard, not just a sweet cider.
The craft beer market has grown so that when visitors come to a new area, they're very interested in seeing what that area has to offer. They want to find out what beers are being made locally that are unlike anything they've had anywhere else. And when you talk, Laguna Beach has a population of 26,000 people. We get about 6 million visitors every year. When a visitor from out of town, out of state, out of country comes to a place and they want a beer, we have found that more people gravitate towards more local craft style breweries. You can get a Budweiser anywhere on earth. You can't get a San Diego beer 70 miles away anywhere on earth. You have to come as a result of putting in more craft beer, more localized product. What I have found is that the staff tends to get behind it more. They tend to say, you should try this beer. It comes from down in San Diego, 60 miles away, and it is awesome. They take the time to learn what it is, why it is, how it is. They tend to like and be more proud. These are people who understand that when they talk to their tables, if they can get behind their product, they can sell it easier.
It's not really so much about where we can sell the keg for the most money. It's much more about if we go to restaurant A versus restaurant B, the patronage of restaurant A looks a lot like our patronage. We want to be there because we seem to fit a certain demographic, a certain market demand.
We have had a fair amount of increase in beer sales since we decided to go with more local and more craft style brewing. What I have found is that more people are coming in specifically to have that beer and then making the decision whether or not they're going to have something to eat. I have found that there have been circles, patterns that hold true in the entirety of the spirits industry. One reality is that the next generation never wants to drink what the previous generation wanted. We're at a time where craft breweries are so prevalent that the younger generation is seeking out to become more and more specific. They want closer to where they're at. They want more specific styles. They want more out-of-the-box ingredients. They don't just want a stout. They don't want an oatmeal stout. They don't want a chocolate stout. They want a peanut butter stout. They want a green grass and ketchup stout. They want something that no one else does. And they will seek them out when they go to particular areas. They will seek out places that cater to that customer. And much like you saw with the advent of the Food Network and Anthony Bourdain's travels around the world, they will seek out that local component on a level that you would never have seen 20 years ago. And it's taken a while for the spirits industry to come around to that, but the beer industry has been doing that for the last 25 years. Since 1990, you started seeing the advent of local breweries, and those few people that will take the risk of putting on a local brew just in the hopes that they will have local people that are willing to take that chance and then go and tell their friends, you've never had anything like this. You should go to this place and just try this thing. And whether or not that friend shows up, they show up again. And then they bring a second friend. And that person might tell another person. And it grows more organically than any amount of Super Bowl advertising or billboard advertising. It'll take a lot more for that company to do that, but it seems to work on a much more grassroots level.
We're not advertising in the paper. We're not running streamer ads on Google or what have you. We have the normal sorts of things in Google and Yelp, and that's great. But we're not running TV commercials. That's not our business. We need everyone who come in to be our champion and have a great experience, a unique experience, and leave there being happy that they invested their time and their money with us. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're striving for, and hoping that they bring their two friends and that word gets out.
A little bit of both. I think that the craft beer phenomenon has brought more regular people in because they know they can get a good beer. They associate it more with having a small plate rather than a full meal. They want an experience that transcends just the, hey, I need something to eat. I can get something to eat anywhere. Where can I go that I can get a good local style beer and get a small bite to eat at the same time? And we've noticed a drastic increase in...
I think that's where the market is. I think that this has become a very fun thing to do for folks who've never brewed a beer, have no desire to brew a beer, who've been to a brewery or two perhaps, or maybe not. It's a weekend thing to go do that's fun and interesting, good, decent food. There's a lot of food truck culture. We're not part of that because we have a kitchen, and that's a differential for us. But there's a food truck culture associated with it, and that has some cultural, modern cultural appeal, and the gastropub phenomenon, which we're a part of now. So we're trying to satisfy what I think is the trend. So I suspect we're going to have a fair number of brewery neighbors here in the short term.